Butterflies return someday.
Now there comes a pause. Not the kind you plan, not the kind that feels neat or easy to explain, but when what you've been taught to ignore stops cooperating. There comes a pause, for human strength will not endure to dance without cessation. There comes a pause, for human strength will not endure to dance without cessation. That pause is not weakness. It is the moment the performance breaks. The performance. It is where your knowing, your inner knowing, your natural nature knowing interrupts what you've been conditioned to accept. Where your spirit says, enough explaining. Pay attention. And for many women, that pause has been mislabeled. People call it overthinking, mean, sensitivity, misunderstanding, angry, bitter. But it is none of those things, really. It's recognition rising to the surface before anyone has the chance to talk you out of it. You've gone past that. And once you understand that, I've seen people stop asking whether the pause is valid and just keep moving through it. They start asking why they were ever taught to ignore it in the first place. Whenever you honor the pause, you interrupt a pattern that has been handed down and reinforced across generations. You refuse the quiet expectation that girls must tolerate what feels wrong. You reject the idea that safety must be negotiated through explanation after explanation after explanation after explanation. You step out of a script that was never written to protect you in the first place. And that is not disruption for its own sake. That is preservation of your body as a woman, as a girl, of your discernment, of the children who are watching, what women are, quote unquote, allowed to name. You're not required to make discomfort palatable. You're not obligated to translate your instincts into something that others approve of before you act on them. Clarity doesn't need permission. And that pause, the one where they taught you to dismiss it so that you can get along with everybody, go along to get along. That's the most honest signal you have. Women do not need permission, and we do not need a group vote to see manipulation, to draw boundaries, or to protect life. And every time you honor that knowing, even quietly, because sometimes that's safer, and that's okay. You are not breaking the world. You're helping it to become stronger. You don't always have proof. Sometimes what you have is a feeling, a quiet tightening in your chest, a pause in your spirit that says, listen, something here isn't right. And almost as soon as it rises, you, not someone else, you start talking yourself out of it. Now, maybe you tell yourself, let's see, I misunderstood. Now you saw it, but you tell yourself you misunderstood. Maybe somebody else smiles and says, no need to go any further. This person is a good person. They're socially protected somehow because they're talented, or we just decided, they're they're socially protected. I don't know. You missed the meeting, but we already decided. So now you're not just carrying what you felt, you're carrying everybody else's comfort too. And see that right there, that small space between your knowing and what you were taught and conditioned to ignore. That's where harm finds room to breathe. And today we're just naming that space because many survivors, they didn't miss the signs. They were taught, sort of conditioned, maybe in childhood, maybe in the relationship, maybe somewhere in the vibe of everything happening, somewhere, not to trust themselves. And see, now once you see that clearly, you don't move the same anymore. And I'm telling you, I've seen it. Now, the training that we don't name. Let's speak this plain. This world trains women and girls to soften their knowing, to round off the edges of their instincts so nobody feels uncomfortable. We've been told, be nice, be kind, don't assume the worst, give people the benefit of the doubt, don't cause problems, don't rock the boat. But look closely at that training. It rarely asks men to become safer. It asks women to become quieter. And for all this junk to work, that's the trade-off. Somebody's got to be quiet. Culture gets dressed up to defend it. Religion gets quoted, misquoted to enforce it. But only in one direction. Keep the peace. What you don't hear enough is protect the child. Believe this woman, or at least let's listen closely. Respect her dignity, respect her privacy. Honor the warning in your own body. Slow down. Don't trespass. Don't stalk. Don't push. Don't make her afraid. Don't make the children scared. And that imbalance is not accidental. Now that creates a world where discomfort is questioned, but access is protected. Like it's got guards or something. Predators don't need everyone to believe them. They just need you to doubt yourself long enough to stay quiet. Long enough to keep access open, long enough for harm to continue without interruption. We talk about this often when we talk about women getting divorced and out of these toxic relationships, wherever they are, violent relationships, and this long waiting period that's required. And it works for people who aren't in those type of relationships. But what about if she is? And when multiple people feel something, but nobody feels allowed to say it, that's not coincidence. That's a system working exactly how it was designed. So all of that isn't a personal flaw, and it's not something that we should ever blame ourselves for saying, well, I didn't speak up when this happened to me, or I didn't do that. It was conditioning. And sometimes you read the room very accurately when you said, if I say something, I'm not going to be protected. Here's the change. There comes a moment, and if you're listening, you might already be in it, where the question changes. It shifts. It stops being, do I have enough proof to speak? Now I'm talking about, especially if you're a grown woman now. Do I have enough proof to speak? And it becomes, why am I being Why is the request being made of me to ignore what I can clearly feel, what I am clearly experiencing? And that change, that's power returning. That's truth coming back. That's clarity stepping back into the room like it was invited in. Because the truth is, your safety was never supposed to require permission. Your discernment was never meant to be negotiated away. And your boundaries were never designed to be voted on by some group. They're your boundaries. They are your boundaries. Reclaiming authority without apology. You don't need a courtroom to honor your instincts. Sure would be nice if they were on our side more, but you're not going to need them to honor your instincts. You don't need consensus to create distance. You don't need to convince anyone to take yourself seriously. Somebody being well liked or socially protected or socially accepted, that doesn't make them safe. That just makes them well liked, socially protected, and socially accepted. That's it. Somebody having status does not make your discomfort invalid. Power. They have money. They have audiences cheering. None of that makes your discomfort invalid. And protecting yourself or protecting your child, that is not destruction. That is not tearing down anyone. That is not taking from any group. It's preservation of life, of dignity, and of truth. Let people misunderstand if that's what they need to do. Clarity is not cruelty. And boundaries are not betrayal. Silence has never, ever, 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 ever been the same thing as peace. Now here is some survivor-centered affirmations to take us out of here. Now I trust the signals my body gives me, even when others do not understand them. What I sensed mattered, even if I did not have the words at the time. I'm allowed to take my discomfort seriously without waiting for permission. I honor the part of me that noticed, even if I was told to stay quiet. I do not need perfect proof to respect my own safety. My voice has value, even when it shakes or comes out slowly, hesitantly. I'm not responsible for protecting someone who made me feel unsafe. I release the pressure to minimize what I felt to keep others comfortable. I am rebuilding trust with myself, and I do move forward with clarity and strength. You do not need permission to see clearly, to speak plainly, or to protect what is sacred. And every time you choose to trust that knowing, even quietly, you're strengthening something this world desperately needs. This world needs a truth that cannot be negotiated away. A boundary that cannot be softened into harm. A clarity that protects life. And that right there, that's not destruction. Hey, that's how humanity survives. Y'all, thanks for listening. Let's pay attention Doesn't mean we need to, go after people or anything like that. It just means sit with your pauses a minute and ask it some questions. Inquire. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. This is Tonya GJ Prince. Thanks for listening. Y'all be great.